The dog that heard what no one else could. A little girl's warning that changed everything. When Daisy wouldn't stop barking. Emily was only 7 years old when she first tried to tell her parents something was wrong. "Max hears things," she would say, pointing at their golden retriever who sat perfectly still in the hallway, ears perked, staring at the wall. Her parents, Sarah and David, would smile and pat her head. "Dogs have good hearing, sweetie," they'd reassure her. But Emily knew this was different. Max wasn't just hearing the neighbor's cat or a squirrel on the roof. He was hearing something else, something that made the fur on his back stand up and his body go rigid with attention. Night after night, Max would position himself in the same spot. Around 2 a.m., his behavior would change completely. The friendly, tail-wagging companion who loved belly rubs and fetch would transform into a vigilant guardian, his eyes fixed on a specific point in the wall between the living room and the garage. He wouldn't growl or bark aggressively, but he wouldn't move either. Emily noticed it first because Max slept in her room, and she'd wake up to find him gone, always to that same spot in the hallway. "Mommy, Max hears things in the walls," Emily insisted one morning at breakfast. "Bad things." Her mother sighed, exchanging a knowing glance with her father. They assumed it was a child's overactive imagination mixed with a dog's natural instincts. After all, houses make noises, pipes creak, wood expands and contracts. There was nothing unusual about a dog reacting to these sounds, right? But Emily wouldn't let it go. She started keeping a notebook, documenting every time Max assumed the position, as she called it. The times were consistent, between 2 and 3 a.m. almost every night. Sometimes Max would tilt his head as if trying to pinpoint the exact source of whatever he was hearing. Other times, he'd take a few steps closer to the wall, then back away, as if weighing whether to investigate further or maintain a safe distance. Share this story if you believe animals can sense things humans can't. The recording that changed everything. Frustrated that her parents wouldn't believe her, Emily came up with a plan. She had received a tablet for her birthday, and it had a voice recording feature. One evening, she set it up in the hallway, positioning it near where Max always sat. She went to bed, waiting for Max to make his nightly journey. Sure enough, at 2:17 a.m., she felt the mattress shift as Max jumped down and padded out of her room. The next morning, Emily woke up early, her heart racing with anticipation. She grabbed the tablet and hit play, expecting to finally have proof of whatever Max was hearing. For the first few minutes, there was nothing but silence. Then, at exactly 2:19 a.m., a sound emerged from the recording. It was faint at first, a scratching noise, followed by what sounded like movement, but it wasn't the sound that made Emily's blood run cold. It was what came next, a distinct clicking sound, rhythmic and deliberate, followed by a low scraping noise that seemed to move along the inside of the wall. Emily ran downstairs, tablet clutched in her hands. "Mom, Dad, you have to hear this." She played the recording for them, watching their faces transform from skeptical amusement to genuine concern. The sounds were unmistakable. Something was definitely inside their wall, and it was moving. David immediately grabbed a flashlight and went to inspect the garage side of the wall. He pressed his ear against the drywall, listening carefully. At first, he heard nothing. But then, as on cue, the scratching began again. It was coming from inside the wall cavity, moving in a deliberate pattern. His face went pale as he looked back at his wife. "We need to call someone today," he said quietly. Within hours, a pest control specialist arrived at their home. After listening to Emily's recording and conducting his own inspection, he confirmed their worst fears. They had a serious intrusion problem. But it wasn't rats or mice as they had initially suspected. The sounds, the pattern of movement, and the timing all pointed to something else entirely. What was really behind a wall? The specialist decided they needed to open up the wall to assess the full extent of the situation. As he carefully cut into the drywall, the family held their breath. Max stood nearby, his body tense, a low whine emanating from his throat. What they discovered inside sent chills down everyone's spine. Tucked into the wall cavity was evidence of multiple raccoon visits. The animals had found a small gap in the garage's exterior wall and had been using the space as a regular pathway, and possibly even a nesting area. The clicking sounds Emily had recorded were the raccoon's claws on the wooden studs. The scraping noises were them moving through the tight space. Most alarmingly, the specialist found significant damage to electrical wiring, which had been chewed and stripped in several places. "You're incredibly lucky," the specialist told the family. "This kind of damage could have caused a fire. If this had gone on much longer without detection, you could have been facing a very dangerous situation." The words hung heavy in the air. A fire. They could have lost everything, or worse, because they hadn't listened to their 7-year-old daughter and their faithful dog. Sarah knelt down beside Emily, tears in her eyes. "You were right, sweetheart. You and Max were trying to protect us. I'm so sorry we didn't listen sooner." The specialist explained that dogs, with their superior hearing, can detect sounds at frequencies and distances far beyond human capability. Max had been hearing the raccoons long before they became loud enough for human ears to detect. His consistent behavior, the positioning, the timing, the focused attention, was his way of trying to alert his family to the danger. Don't wait until it's too late. Follow for more incredible true stories about amazing animals. The lessons they learned. The repair work took several days. The damaged electrical wiring had to be completely replaced, the wall cavity cleaned and disinfected, and all potential entry points sealed. The cost ran into thousands of dollars, but they knew they had gotten off easy. The alternative, a house fire in the middle of the night, didn't bear thinking about.
Emily became something of a hero in the neighborhood. Word spread about how a 7-year-old girl and her dog had potentially saved their family. Parents started listening more carefully to their own children's observations about their pets' behaviors. David and Sarah learned an invaluable lesson about taking their daughter seriously, even when her claims seemed unlikely. But the biggest change was in how the family viewed Max. He had always been a beloved pet, but now he was also their protector, a vigilant guardian whose instincts and senses operated on a level they were only beginning to understand. They started paying closer attention to his behaviors, learning to read the subtle signs that indicated when something was amiss. Emily continued her documentation, but now her parents joined in. They created a Max journal, where they noted any unusual behaviors, which helped them identify and address 2 more potential issues in the following months: a small leak in a pipe behind a bathroom wall and a loose shingle on the roof that was creating a gap where insects could enter. Why we should listen to animals. This story isn't just about one family and one dog. It's a reminder of something we often forget in our modern, technology-driven world. Animals possess abilities that surpass our own in many ways. Dogs can hear frequencies between 40 and 60,000 hertz, while humans can only detect sounds between 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz. They can hear sounds 4 times farther away than we can. Their noses contain up to 300 million olfactory receptors, compared to our mere 6 million. Throughout history, animals have warned humans of impending danger. Dogs have alerted families to fires, gas leaks, and intruders. They've detected seizures before they happen and identified cancers through scent alone. Elephants sensed the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami and moved to higher ground before the waves hit, potentially saving themselves and alerting nearby humans. Birds abandoned their nests before the 1975 Haicheng earthquake in China, prompting officials to evacuate the city and saving countless lives. Yet despite this knowledge, we often dismiss unusual animal behavior as random or meaningless. We rationalize it away, attribute it to quirks of personality, or simply don't notice it at all because we're too distracted by our screens and schedules. Emily's story teaches us to observe more carefully and trust more readily. Children, unburdened by the skepticism that comes with age, often notice things adults miss. They pay attention to their pets in ways we don't, spending hours watching and interacting with them, learning their patterns and personalities. Moving forward with new awareness. Today, Emily is older, but she hasn't forgotten the lesson Max taught her family. She's become an advocate for listening to children and paying attention to animal behavior. She gives presentations at her school about pet safety and awareness, teaching other kids how to recognize when their pets might be trying to communicate something important. Max, now a senior dog with gray around his muzzle, still patrols the house occasionally. But these days when he stops and focuses on something, the entire family stops too. They've learned that his instincts are worth respecting, his senses worth trusting. He may not be able to speak in words, but he communicates clearly to those who are willing to pay attention. The family installed a security system after the incident, but they joke that their best security feature is still Max. No technology can replace the intuition and awareness of a devoted family dog who takes his protective duties seriously. Sarah often reflects on how close they came to disaster and how easily it could have been prevented if they had just listened sooner. She says, "We teach our children to trust adults and listen to authority, but sometimes we forget that wisdom can come from the smallest voices and that communication doesn't always require words." Follow us to never miss another incredible true story. Your support helps us share more amazing tales of animals and the people who love them. The story of Emily and Max reminds us that our homes are ecosystems we share with the natural world, whether we're aware of it or not. It challenges us to pay closer attention, not just to dramatic signs of trouble, but to the subtle signals that something might be amiss. It encourages us to trust the instincts of those around us, both human and animal, even when we can't immediately verify what they're sensing. Most importantly, it's a testament to the bond between children and their pets, a connection that, when nurtured and respected, can literally save lives. Emily didn't give up on convincing her parents because she trusted Max completely. That trust, combined with her determination and creativity, prevented a potential tragedy. So the next time your dog stares at a wall or your child insists that something is wrong, take a moment, listen, observe, investigate, because sometimes the smallest voice or the most persistent bark is trying to tell you something that matters more than you could possibly imagine. Max heard things, and thank goodness, Emily made sure someone finally listened.